Greetings. I'd like to share a few final thoughts with you as your regional director on what I believe we need to do to have a more sustainable water supply future. But let me first give you some insight on where I came from before accepting this job 5 years ago. I grew up on a farm about 30 miles north of Sacramento, where 2 of my brothers and nephews and a niece continue to farm, now 6 generations in California. Where we farm, it was not in a Central Valley Project district, but the local water district was supported by Reclamation in its development in the early 60s through a low-interest loan. For the Central Valley, we live in a very special place with a Mediterranean climate, one of the few in the world. Here we are able to grow much food and fiber. We're able to grow almost any crop so long as you have water. After undergrad and law school, I worked as an attorney for 40 years, principally representing public water agencies in the San Joaquin and Sacramento valleys and the Central Coast, all areas served by the Central Valley Project, the State Water Project, and local supplies, and in addition, many conjunctively using groundwater. In my 40 years, I saw water supplies greatly reduced in many areas, principally through new legislation, litigation, and regulations, but with no new major infrastructure or rehabilitation of infrastructure. Yet demand for water grew with new urban areas and a lot of farmland converted to permanent crops, thus what we call hardening of demand for water. And we now have in California, well overdue, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA. So farms and communities in many areas will not be able to pump as much groundwater to make up for the absence of surface water in the future. Based on various estimates, we expect in the next 15 to 20 years, 500,000 to 1 million acres of farmland will go out of production in the San Joaquin Valley, largely because of SGMA. And to top it off, climate change, probably resulting in less snowpack and more rain and floodwater to contend with in the future as we manage limited supplies. So that's my background in coming in as regional director 5 years ago. And now let me share with you my basic stump speech I've shared with various audiences. What I believe we need to do to have a more sustainable water supply future, which also affects the significant, clean, carbon-free hydroelectric power we supply to local communities in the Central Valley and the Bay Area. I see it as a 4-legged stool. If you don't work on all 4 legs, the stool will be wobbly and the water supply will not be as sustainable and reliable as it would otherwise be in the long term. And those 4 legs are: first, fix what we have; second, build new storage; third, use water more wisely; and fourth, achieve regulatory certainty. So first, fix what we have. We need to rehabilitate our infrastructure, much of which is 70 to 80 years old and some older. In addition to the many smaller yet very expensive items, too many to mention, major projects underway or planned include the following: Sisk Dam at San Luis Reservoir, the largest off-stream reservoir in the nation, key to the CVP and the State Water Project. It has seismic issues and needs to be modified. Phase 1 is almost complete, but much remains to be done. We have canals in the CVP that have lost capacity due to subsidence caused by groundwater overpumping, the worst being the Friant-Kern Canal, which lost 50% of its capacity. Phase 1 to fix the worst part is almost complete. The other 2 CVP canals are the De La Mendota Canal and the San Luis Canal, rehabilitation of both of which are in the planning phase. Having our canals ready to operate at full capacity is critical, particularly with greater peaks in precipitation as a result of climate change. We need to have the getaway capacity to move water when it is available into storage. And the Truckee Canal in Nevada, which we have now completed a fix of the most vulnerable section, 15 years after a major flood event occurred in the city of Fernley. We now have new opportunities for funding under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or BILL, a generational opportunity that we need to take full advantage of to rehabilitate our infrastructure. Second, we need new storage, particularly with climate change and less water available, particularly in dry and below normal years. As a result of environmental regulations to protect fisheries, we need additional storage in the state. We are partnering with local agencies and in some cases the state to advance the following 4 projects. For each, we have completed feasibility studies, making them eligible to compete for funding under the Water Infrastructure Improvements of the Nation Act, or WIN Act, along with Bill. Those 4 projects being the Sites Reservoir Project, Los Vaqueros Expansion Project, Del Puerto Canyon Project, and Raising Sis Dam. Third, using limited water supplies more wisely. This is an area that has to be led by local water agencies, but we can play a key role in helping encourage and finance, often partnering with DWR and the State Board in California, through at least 2 reclamation programs. The first being Title 16, or the Water Recycling Program. The state estimates that 1.5 million acre-feet of treated effluent discharged into the ocean every year. As a result of Bill, we have significant new opportunities. This past year, about $100 million was allocated to local agencies in our region, principally along the coast, for a total of $210 million in California when combined with the Lower Colorado region. And second, we have various other aspects of the Water Smart program for local agencies to secure funding to improve water use efficiency. We need regulatory certainty. To effectively plan, we need to know what to expect to operate our projects and try to get out of the continual cycle of litigation over project operations. We need to continue working on science to better inform regulatory constraints to help ensure that actions that may reduce water supplies otherwise available are actually effective in supporting fisheries and other aspects of the environment. For several of our projects, we also have ongoing consultations under the Endangered Species Act, including the CVP and its Trinity Division, Klamath, Kachuma, and Twitchell projects. For the CVP, it's a massive effort now underway in conjunction with the SWP. The 2 projects combined serve about 2/3 of the population of the state and about 4 million acres of some of the most productive farmland in the world. In addition, for the CVP, SWP, and many other projects in the Central Valley and Delta, we have proposed voluntary agreements now under consideration of the State Water Resources Control Board as an alternative to the so-called unimpaired flow standards advanced by the State Board staff, which could significantly reduce water supplies available to our respective contractors. And Reclamation is a signatory to the voluntary agreements, and I believe it's a better way to protect and enhance fisheries, combining additional flows with new habitat. So these are significant activities now underway within the region. So as I see it, the 4 legs of a stool to a more sustainable water supply that Reclamation needs to continue to work on. We have made significant progress for many of these efforts over the last 5 years through the hard work of regional employees in conjunction with partner agencies and with significant support from DC leadership. But much more needs to be done. I challenge you to continue and advance these initiatives. I have appreciated the opportunity to serve as your regional director for the last 5 years, and I wish Carl the best in leading the region in the future.